Welcome back to the Red Cartel podcast. This is our predictions podcast. I am, as always, joined by my good friend, the Boss Man. How are you doing today, Boss?
I'm very, very well, Leone, mate. Very well.
Nice one. Yeah, I'm
What
not
about
too
you, mate?
bad. Yeah, not too bad. It's a bit miserable around where I live at the moment. Although weirdly, you can't tell by my camera. It looks sort of light, and we were talking about it before. You're like, it looks really light where you are. It's not. It's freezing cold and horrible. And also this time, if anyone saw the last one where I was a Wolves fan, I've now turned up as Brighton.
Brighton, mate,
Anyway,
yeah. It's the Blue Cartel, mate. It's the Blue Cartel, the first of many.
that's what I am, the Blue Cartel. So, um, moving on to last week's, which you will see cleverly edited in by the boss man somewhere on the screen. And I mean, I got battered again by Boss. His sort of like mathematical algorithm approach to predicting results seems to be paying dividends. Although I will say, predicting a Tottenham loss all the time hasn't really seen you.
Yeah, it's the Tottenham loss. It's now principle. It's a principle of mine that I can't predict that Tottenham will win. It may hinder my results, but I don't care. I don't care. That one time, or that multiple times that I'm right from the Tottenham loss, it will make it sweeter, boss. Makes it sweeter.
Well, fair enough. I can appreciate that because I mostly will predict an Everton loss or draw. Don't think I'll ever bring myself to really say they're going to win. But last week, essentially, to sort of wrap it up, I got one correct score. Boss got two correct scores. We've roughly got the same amount of correct results overall, including those correct scores. And so now Boss has moved 4 points into the lead going into game week 7, which we've got some interesting games this week, Boss, haven't we?
Yeah. I was. By the way, I was particularly proud of my prediction of 1-1 Newcastle Man City. So that was.
Yeah.
I was glad I got the right score, and I was just glad Man City dropped points. So that was very good.
Yeah, I was glad that Man City dropped points. I predicted 3-1 Newcastle for that game, and I watched the game, and I was devastated that at least they didn't get a second penalty, Newcastle, because maybe the penalty they got wasn't a penalty, and I don't know. But they didn't get the second penalty, and it would have been really interesting to see what had happened, because actually Man City looked terrible in that game, if I'm honest.
Struggling, mate. Struggling.
No Rodri. So we have got here first game. Obviously, it's Liverpool at 12:30 on a Champions League week. Just and we're playing tonight as we're recording this Wednesday. So quickly get Liverpool in at 12:30, just to make sure. I'm going to gripe here. Liverpool always play at 12:30. Can someone do something about it? Because I don't want to play at 12:30 anymore, especially away at Crystal Palace. It seems to be always the bloody way.
Yeah. You know what, Leon? Like, it's not even that. Like, when you watch a game, like, I don't get to go to Arsenal like as much as I'd like to, but a 12:30 game on TV, and it's bloody TNT, and you just think it's a terrible kick-off time. So I'm in agreement. I'm glad Arsenal don't play many.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I actually think that I looked at the stats of this a long time ago, and I actually think that Arsenal are quite high up on the old 12:30 thing, which is bizarre because you were like before in the Champions League, like it was like Europa League for a season or 2 seasons, and that makes absolute sense to play at 12:30 on a Saturday. Anyway, it's just Premier League again, just like favouring Man City because they never play at 12:30. Anyway, we move on from my bias to Crystal Palace, Liverpool. I have predicted a 2-0 win for Liverpool. What have you done, Boss?
So look, I could look very, very foolish, but I've gone for a 1-0 Palace win, mate. Like the stats don't back this up, but I just seem to think that Palace do quite well against Liverpool, and they won last game. The last season they beat you at 1-0 at yours. I go 1-0 Palace. They've got to win. They've eventually got to win as well. So
they do, and there is a bit of trepidation in every Liverpool fan around Crystal Palace. Although, if you actually look at like the amount of times we played them in the Premier League and what it is, we've far superior to them, or battered them quite often. And it's just like that one time where they came back from 3-0 down the win to draw 3-0 or whatever it was with, what do they call it? Cristamble. I mean, maybe they won the Champions League at the end of it like we did in Istanbul. I don't know. But
What is? I've not heard of this, boss. What's it? Cristamble?
yeah, Cristamble. Yeah, when we were gonna possibly win the league, and
Oh yeah, you were going for the goal difference.
yeah, and then they came back and drew 3-3. They call it like that's their biggest claim to fame. It's sort of like a bit of a Tottenham thing to do, if I'm honest, which is really weird. Like claim to something where it's like, yeah, but we got to the final. And you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh on Palace comparing them to Tottenham, mate. But just to ease your mind, mate, Palace have lost 11 of the last 14 Premier League meetings with Liverpool. So you're probably going to get the prediction right.
Anyways, we move on to the next game, which I've gone is Southampton, and I've gone for a 3-0 win for Arsenal. And what have you gone for?
I've gone 5-0, mate. As much as I'm not going to want to see 5 goals get put against Ramsdale, my prediction is we win 5-0, but Ramsdale makes 10 world-class saves in there.
I forgot about Ramsdale. When I was making my prediction, I forgot about Ramsdale. This is the game. This is the game where it plays world-class against his old club, and you don't score.
I think we'll score 5.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, that means that all the talk that we had before of you telling me how good Ramsdale was utter tripe.
No, mate, he's going to have 10 world-class saves. But the fact is, we're going to have a similar amount of chances that we had against Leicester. So we can't come against. We even put 4 past Leicester, and we came up against a keeper that was just unreal on the day. Ramsdale, love him. Best English keeper that we have at the moment, but he'll concede 5.
Fair enough. I'm not so sure, but you will definitely beat Saints. They don't score.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, they really just don't score. Brentford versus Wolves. Next one up. I've gone for a 2-1 Wolves win. By yourself.
I've joined you on 2-1 Wolves win, mate. Not that I think Brentford are a bad side, but Wolves eventually have to win this season. Brentford have had a bit of a dodgy defence, and I've only given them the 1 goal because it will probably come in the first minute. So.
Yeah, they broke the record, didn't they, of Premier League record. Now 3 games in a row scoring in the first minute. It's insane.
I know, crazy.
But that's the same reason that I did it. I was like, oh, well, they'll get 1 because they seem to always get 1. But same reasoning as yourself. Like, Wolves have to win at some point, don't they? Like, as in,
yeah.
They are quite good. Like when Liverpool played them last, although they didn't create much, they were really hard. They're a really hard team to break down. Chelsea wouldn't tell you that, but they're a basket case of a club. So sometimes they do.
Arsenal. We beat them 2-0, but it was a really tough game. They should have had a couple of people sent off, but it was a tough game.
Yeah, they should have. Next game is Leicester versus Bournemouth, and I have gone for a 2-2 draw. What about yourself, boss?
Before I give it, I'll tell you what, this is a really hard week to predict. There are a lot of very, very evenly matched teams this week, I think. Yep. I've gone for a 3-1 Bournemouth win, just purely on the fact that Bournemouth have won their last 3 games against Leicester in the Prem. So
yeah, and I just went, Leicester scored 2 against you, which means they must be able to score 2 against Bournemouth. And Bournemouth create a lot of chances, but also leave the back door open a bit. So maybe Jamie Vardy I'm going to say his name every week, and eventually I'll be right. And I'll be like, go on, Vardy!
Yeah. We can eventually clip it up, and they'll be like, look, Leone predicted Vardy. He predicted Vardy.
Told you, 20 Premier League goals. He's not going to do that. Although I will, just before I carry on, someone does need to make a film of Jamie Vardy's life, because his football story in particular is incredible. One of the best football stories of all time.
Oh, without a doubt. What a journey he's been on. But yeah. I'm just glad we've only got him playing one more game as an Arsenal fan, because he's a shithouse.
just constantly scores against Arsenal as well, or like used to. He's always scored against Liverpool as well. Just to score for fun. That's annoying. Right, next one, big one, big important game. This City versus Fulham. I've gone for an Erling Haaland hat trick, 3-0. What have you gone for, boss?
Boss, I have gone for a controversial one here. Clip it up, take the piss. I've gone Fulham to win 2-1. Now, normally, I look at the history of the fixtures and I look at the form, and that's how I predict mine. Now, the history of this fixture is that Man City have won each of their last 16 meetings with Fulham in all comps. However, I think because Fulham are little Arsenal, they're some of Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson are gonna be really up for this game, and I think they're gonna shock Man City. 2-1 Fulham.
I hope that happens. I hope they drop points, draw, lose, anything like that. But if I'm completely honest with you, like, even though I really rate Marco Silva, as people who watch this will know, both of us like him a lot. He's a really good man. He's underrated massively, and he's done some shrewd business. I just don't know. I just don't think they've got enough. I hope they do. Hope Jimenez bangs in loads of goals or something. But he won't.
Let's hope. We can always hope. There's always
well, all right. I'll have a little side bet where you're here. I bet Erling Haaland will score more goals in this game than Fulham do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean I wouldn't even give you very good odds on that, boss. But if you want to do a little cheeky fiver, let's do it.
£5, like better than a sportsman's bet. Ridiculous. Like he's gonna. It's just too much. He's like bionic, and he's like made in a lab. But he doesn't score against the big teams.
He doesn't. Well, Newcastle were a decent side, didn't score against them. So.
And I suppose he did score against you, but
he did. He scored in every game apart from Newcastle's game this season. So
yeah, I don't think he's scored against Liverpool since he played for Salzburg.
I mean, last season he didn't score against Arsenal. Like we shut him out, and obviously he scored this season. But he's a phenomenon. He's a phenom, they say. He's unbelievable. But still, he may score against Fulham, but Fulham are going to score more.
And also, I will put it in here that like a lot of people have been saying that Erling Haaland is like the greatest striker the Premier League's ever seen, and it's a bit early, isn't it? I know he scored loads of goals, and he's like, that's amazing, 100 and 103, like overall. Sorry, like not just Premier League and that.
Yeah.
But starting a whole new debate, and maybe we'll do a debate on that, a different podcast perhaps. I don't think you can't. If he does it for another 5 seasons and he scores over 200 goals, yeah, all right, I'll concede the point that he's basically broken. But centre-backs aren't as good as they used to be. They're not. And there's not enough of them. There's like 2 good centre-backs in the Premier League. Maybe 3. Maybe 4. That's about it.
Yeah, I'd say there's 3 clubs with good defences. And one of them is Man City. So he can't score against those. But yeah, let's move on from Erling pod to the next one.
So West Ham Ipswich, and I've gone controversially against my early season prediction of West Ham doing really well, and I think that old Delap is going to get another brace, and they're going to win 2-0. And what about you, boss?
So I've gone for a West Ham win, but I am very much becoming an Ipswich fan. I think they're playing. I'm really enjoying them in the Prem. I think West Ham have got to turn it around eventually. And again, a bit like with Wolves, like they have to win. I think West Ham will take it. They're at home. They got that support, big pitch. Ipswich might struggle. 2-1. Yeah,
fair enough. Next is Everton versus Newcastle. I've gone for I suppose optimistic in some ways, but maybe not, a 2-2 draw. And what have you gone for, boss?
Yeah, Well, you've gone 2-2 because we bigged up Dwight O'Neill. Was it Dwight O'Neill? And
Oh,
he
Dwight,
smashed it in.
Hill scored. They just started smashing in goals, didn't he? All of a sudden, that was hilarious.
I've gone 3-1, 3-0 Newcastle.
So, yeah, it's a tough place to go, Goodison Park. It hasn't been of late for people, I suppose, and I think after their last victory, maybe the Dogs of War will be back and they'll be all like Sean Dyche football, and Newcastle won't like it, I don't think. But having said that, they'll probably foul everyone and not get sent off again. So maybe Newcastle will win because they're allowed to foul. I don't know. We'll see. Next one is it's Aston Villa versus Man United. And I have predicted 5-0 Aston Villa. What have you
5-0 Villa. Any reasons for 5-0 Villa, mate?
Because De Ligt is terrible, Martinez is terrible. They're not going to play Slabhead because they've spent too much money on the other two terrible defenders. Mazraoui only knows how to run forward. Dalot, for some reason, has gone from being really good defender to, against Tottenham, I'm pretty sure my Rabbit could play better than him. And their midfield is terrible, and Villa's midfield is actually all right. So they're just going to win and create those chances. That's my opinion is that. And clip it up, man. I'm telling you now. Ollie Watkins, 5 goals.
Oh, you went 5-0, didn't you? I was thinking, did you go 5-0? Fucking hell. I've gone 2-1, mate. I think there'll be a reaction from United, but I think Villa might be a bit strong. This will all caveat because we're doing this on the Wednesday night or the Wednesday, and Villa are playing Champs League. Is it today or tomorrow? It all depends how Villa get on against Bayern. If they ever win, then I think 5-0 might be a possibility. If they get trounced, I think they may struggle. But still, even when they struggle, they're still beating Man U.
Yeah, I agree. I just think they've got better players, better cohesion, better manager. Like Villa know what they're doing. They got that Duran guy who's also just like ridiculous at the moment, can score from like anywhere.
Yeah.
Watford's doing pretty well. And I tell you what, that Rodgers guy.
Yes, good. Very good.
Forward, like as soon as I saw him when he played against you, and I was like, hold on a minute, who's this guy? Like genuinely, like pace, power. His end product isn't as good as it probably could be, but he's like 21 or something.
I know. First real season. This will be. He's had half a season in the Prem. He's grown into it. He's just a really good player. I will not be surprised if the transfer mill starts around kind of April time, talking about him going to one of the kind of the more established, not bigger because clubs that got more money than Villa.
Unfortunately, he's like a Tottenham buy, one of those ones that they buy a good player and ruin him.
Yeah, hopefully not, because he is a good player.
Well, Villa are better than Tottenham, so why would he go there? So that's the good thing. Like the only place he can really go is like City, Liverpool, Arsenal. They're the 3 better teams than them.
Yeah.
Maybe Chelsea, but they've already bought everyone. So talking about Chelsea, a good little segue there. Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest, and I have gone Cole Palmer 3, Nottingham Forest 0. What about you?
I've gone Cole Palmer 4, Nottingham Forest 2. So, looking at Chelsea's defence over the last few games, they are not keeping clean sheets, and Nottingham Forest are they're quite like terrier like they're constantly nipping against the defence. I think they're going to get a lot of chances, but Cole Palmer step up with probably another hat trick, and then maybe he'll lay one on the plate for Nicholas Jackson to tap in as well.
Well, you don't want to be relying on that. If he's laying on the plate for Nicholas Jackson will throw the plate out the window. Right, last one. It's my namesake. Brighton versus Tottenham. The big one.
It is the big one. It's the battle of the High Lines, mate. The battle of the High Lines.
Yeah, I was going to say the battle of the terrible clubs, but it's the derby. It's the big derby. It's the big one for Tottenham, isn't it?
It's the big one, mate.
So
look,
maybe they can beat someone just outside London.
Yeah, harping back onto if anyone saw our predictions pod last week, where we thought, tell you how terrible our geography is. We thought maybe Ipswich Aston Villa might have been a derby. I did Google it afterwards, boss. Villa are very much West Midlands, and Ipswich are East Anglia. It's around about a 2.5 hour journey, so it's essentially like saying Arsenal have a local rivalry with Bristol City, mate. That's the sort of distance that was.
I know, it just shows our lack of geography knowledge. Like, to be honest with you, I did the same thing, and embarrassingly, it's like one's here and one's here, like one's here, one's here, sort of thing. And I was like, oh my god, it's like 200 miles. Like, that's not even close. Like, what's going on? But I have gone with a Tottenham victory at 3-2. I think they're going to concede, but they're going to score. It's like a basket case game. And what have you gone for, boss?
Well, firstly, I'm annoyed that you think Tottenham are going to win. Nah, I'm always annoyed. Yeah. No, if I wasn't going through the old I can't predict Tottenham to win, I think Tottenham will win it. But I've gone for 3-2 to Brighton. Lots of goals, but yeah, I think it'll be an entertaining game because Tottenham games, unless you hate Tottenham, are probably quite entertaining. And but I think they're going to concede. They're going to be having Mickey Van de Ven's going to be running up into the Brighton box, and then Brighton are going to attack quickly. And I'll call it now. I reckon Romero's going to get sent off. So.
It's a good shout. It is a good shout.
He's probably injured, but yeah, I think he might. He probably won't play, but yeah, I reckon he gets sent off if he's playing.
He played the last game against Man United because he nearly scored an overhead.
Oh, he did, didn't he? Oh, I'm so glad that didn't. Not trying to veer off. I'm so glad that didn't go in. I don't think I could have taken a whole week of watching Sky Sports News when they're just talking about how amazing he is because he scored a scissor kick. And yeah, but that's not all he's paid for. He's paid to stop the ball going in the back of the net. And he's rubbish at that. So yeah, no, I'm very glad he didn't score that, boss. Very, very glad.
Before we end the pod, I don't think that Romero is necessarily that bad a player. I don't think he's as good as Tottenham fans and Tottenham pundits make out. He has, of course, he has won the World Cup, but like he was in a team with Messi, so
yeah.
Messi played for Portugal instead of Ronaldo. Portugal would have won the World Cup.
Mate, I always say when anyone says, someone is a great player because they've won like one of the big competitions, Jimmy Chore? Who's that? De Jimmy.
Yeah.
De Jimmy. Mate, he's won the Champions League, right?
Yeah.
Steve Finnan has won the Champions League. If someone comes up to me and says Steve Finnan was a great fullback, he's won the Champions League. You can't. Yeah. Romero's won so's Enzo Fernandez, and I'm not saying he's a good player. Right.
No. I agree. I mean, that's a bit harsh to old Jimmy and Steve Finnan. Maybe a bit harsh to Steve Finnan, because he was at least a solid fullback in the Premier League. To mention Jimmy Traore alongside him, I feel like the need to clap back and say Jimmy Traore has won more Champions Leagues than Arsenal.
Oh, he has, mate. Without a doubt, yeah. But he was in a team that got pulled up by Steven Gerrard. So.
Gerrard and Alonso, yeah, basically two world-class midfielders in a team that were terrible, and somehow we beat AC Milan. Anyway,
yeah.
Back to Istanbul. We're going full circle, starting with Cristanbul, coming back to Istanbul.
It's perfect. It's like we planned it, mate. It's like we planned it. We haven't, by the way. We just come on and talk rubbish.
All these notes, so it's fine. Don't worry. But anyway, well, thank you everybody for listening to our random rambles and predictions. We do tend to predict a lot of goals, which means we get a lot of things wrong. However, it looks like Boss is better at it than me, at least 6 games in. So we'll see what happens in Game Week 7. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. It really helps. Please comment, even if you're having a go at us, even if you disagree, agree, want to get in on the action or something, let us know. We'd like to talk to our community as much as we possibly can, and get you boys in, girls in. We'd like to have a bit of a debate. It'd be quite fun. We try to reply to as many as we can. yeah, thank you very much for listening. And have you got anything to add before we go, boss?
No, just to reaffirm that Tottenham will lose. Romero is a terrible defender, and Mickey van der Ven is just fast, and that covers up for all of his lackings as a defender. So there you go. Just to finish on a nice positive note. Tottenham is shit. What do I think of Tottenham? Exactly.
That's what he thinks. That's what he thinks. Well, we'll leave it on this note then. Jimmy Traore. Bye.